Imagine this. You walk out of a clinic in rural Utah. Last year you were healthy. This year you have chronic asthma. Outside it's searing hot, even for Utah. Toxic dust in the air tickles your lungs and makes you cough on the way to your car. A little blood comes out, but you just wipe it off and don't tell anyone. Prices are so high you can't afford to miss work tomorrow. This is the future Box Elder County approved while hundreds of locals were outside protesting. I've been kind of obsessed with this story for a while now, and the more I dig into it, the more I think we're building something enormous in the US, and most people have absolutely no idea. Not just Kevin O'Leary's project either, the whole AI thing, the whole data center boom, the scale of it all. What does it actually cost, and who actually pays for it? So that's kind of what this video is. I'm going to explain what these things are, and then I'm going to walk you through O'Leary's project specifically because it's a perfect case study. Then I'm going to tell you why I genuinely think you should care about this, even if you couldn't care less about AI. Let's go. Alright, a quick foundation. You've heard of AI data centers. You probably are picturing a beige room, blinking lights, maybe a guy in a polo shirt standing around, whatever. The reality is, these are genuinely massive industrial facilities. We're talking warehouses the size of multiple football fields, packed floor to ceiling with servers, which are basically just very powerful specialized computers. And those computers are doing the work that runs the internet. Every time you stream something, search something, store something in the cloud, that's a data center doing it. You've been using them your whole life. You've just never had time to think about them. But here's the thing about AI specifically. We can handle regular computing. It's fine, it's normal, it's manageable. AI is a completely different beast. When you send a message to ChatGPT, you're not running something on your laptop. You're actually firing a request across the internet to a facility running thousands of specialized chips called GPUs, and those chips are burning through enormous amounts of power to generate your response. Every single query. And then there's the training, which is when they're actually building the model in the first place. Training a single large AI model can use as much electricity as hundreds of homes consume in an entire year. One model, one time. And they run hot. Pretty hot. So they need cooling. Constantly. Most of them use water based cooling systems that literally evaporate water into the air. One mid sized data center, 100 megawatts, can go through somewhere between 1.5 and 3 million cubic meters of water per year. Someone calculated that a 100 message ChatGPT session uses about a half a liter of water every time, just for cooling. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. Now let's talk about how many of these things are actually being built right now. The scale is genuinely hard to process. So we know they want to expand, but how much? Well, in 2025 alone, the amount of money spent on AI data center construction crossed $200 billion. The IEA, International Energy Agency, says that's the largest infrastructure investment cycle at the telecom bubble of the early 2000s. Global electricity consumption from data centers is projected to go from 415 terawatt hours in 2024 to around 945 terawatt hours by 2030. I know those numbers don't mean much without context, so for comparison, that's like if we added the electricity consumption of Japan onto the US in only about 6 years. In America specifically, just the US, data center energy demand is expected to go from 80 gigawatts to 150 gigawatts between now and 2028. That jump of 70 gigawatts is equivalent to adding the entire energy appetite of Spain into the grid in 3 years. Researchers estimate that AI's water footprint in 2025 alone could reach up to 764 billion liters. The global annual consumption of bottled water, all of it, every plastic bottle, everywhere in the world, is around the same. The carbon footprint of AI systems this year could be somewhere between 32 and 80 million tons of CO2. The lower end of that alone is comparable to Norway's total national emissions. And I want to be really clear, this isn't just a distant future thing. This is happening right now. The land is being bought, the permits are being filed, the machines are being built. Which brings me to our friend Kevin O'Leary. You might know him as Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. And if you've seen Shark Tank, you know this dude's vibe. He's blunt, he's ruthless, and fond of describing himself in the third person. He's building up in the AI data center space for a while. He's talked about an early project in upstate New York that fell apart because of permitting delays. And his response to that was just, I don't invest in New York anymore, which is extremely on brand. He moved to Norway instead, where hydroelectric power is plentiful and policy is favorable. That project doubled in size compared to his last one, and he explored nuclear energy in Finland. He's been learning the ropes, building out what he calls his engineering chops. And now he's proposed something that makes all of that look like a warm-up. His Stratos project, Box Elder County, Utah. 40,000 acres of private land plus another 1,200 acres of military and state-owned property. The facility at its full build-out would generate 9 gigawatts of power, all of it produced on-site by burning natural gas from the Ruby Pipeline, a 680-mile gas line running through northern Utah. Total estimated value, $100 billion. For scale, the entire state of Utah currently runs on about 4 gigawatts at its peak. O'Leary's project at full scale would consume more than double that. Phase 1 alone is 3 gigawatts. And Box Elder County has fewer than 60,000 people in it. The county commissioners voted unanimously to approve it, while a crowd gathered at the fairgrounds outside to protest and demand answers that they weren't getting. A group of residents immediately started collecting signatures to put a referendum on the November ballot to try to overturn the decision. So, what's the pitch here? Why did the commissioners say yes? And what are the people outside saying no to? The case for it. Okay, so look, I think it's important to understand why smart people are saying yes to things like this, because they are smart individuals, people in charge. O'Leary's core argument about this is China. He told the county board, China built 400 gigawatts of new power in the last 24 months, and a huge chunk of that is going to AI data centers. The US, by contrast, is getting bogged down in permitting processes and utility planning cycles that were designed for a different era. We're falling behind. His framing is that this is a national security issue. AI is going to determine military capability, economic dominance, and technological leadership. You can't lead in AI without computing power, and you can't have computing power without AI data centers, and you can't build data centers if it takes 15 years to get permits. Utah, he says, has stepped up to the plate. They had the land, they had the pipeline running through it, and a government willing to move fast. The facility will generate its own power so it won't strain the grid, and it might even feed excess power back. It creates 10,000 construction jobs and 2,000 permanent positions. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos has publicly said AI demand is so extreme they see no signs of it slowing. O'Leary is just trying to build infrastructure to meet that demand. And Utah did give him an extraordinary deal. Energy taxes cut from 6% down to 0.5%, with 80% of property tax revenue rebated back. So the state clearly believes the economics of it all. That's their case for it. Sometimes to hate the game, you have to know the rules. Now, here's what they don't really want to mention. The things they're not saying. Box Elder County is right next to the Great Salt Lake. You may have seen stories about the Great Salt Lake over the last few years. It's been shrinking drastically because of drought and because too much water is being diverted before it ever even gets there. And as the lake recedes, it exposes the lake bed underneath, which sounds fine until you realize that the lake bed contains arsenic, mercury, and other heavy metals. And when it dries out, the wind picks it up, and then people breathe it in. This is already happening. It's not a near future hypothetical. And residents are understandably worried that a facility at this scale, burning gas, running enormous server farms, needing massive water based cooling systems, is going to make all of that significantly worse. O'Leary says the water use will be managed, but there's no binding public commitment on exactly how much water Stratos will consume in the desert next to a drying lake. That detail seems worth pinning down before you approve $100 billion of infrastructure, but apparently the commissioners didn't think so. Another thing I want to talk about is Kevin's use of the word clean gas for a second. O'Leary said, and I'm not making this up, that natural gas burned through turbines is clean. He said this on Fox News. Natural gas is cleaner than coal, yes, absolutely, but it's not clean. Burning it releases CO2. A 9 gigawatt facility running on gas is going to produce enormous emissions for a long time, for decades, because that's how infrastructure works. Once you've built something like this, you're committed to it. And here's the thing that really gets me about this is with O'Leary's other projects, Norway and Finland deliberately used renewable energy. He literally said the lesson he learned was to eliminate risk through clean energy first. He knows clean energy matters. His Wonder Valley project was designed around sustainability. So why is the Utah project, the biggest one by far at $100 billion, built around burning gas? Because gas is what's available at scale quickly in that location. And speed is more valuable to him right now than sustainability, which tells you something about whose interest this project is actually catered toward. Box Elder County is under 60,000 people. It's rural, it's quiet, not exactly a place that has a lot of political leverage against a billionaire that has a national security argument and a Fox News platform. The commissioners approved it unanimously, though. People showed up to protest and were essentially told, it's happening regardless. Go put your concerns on a ballot in November and we'll see. Protesting this kind of corruption is not unique to Utah, though. Research firm Data Center Watch found that between March and June of 2025, community opposition blocked or delayed $98 billion worth of data center projects across the country. People in Memphis pushed back against Elon Musk's XAI facility, and people in Indianapolis organized against Google. At least 25 projects got canceled in 2024 alone because of local opposition. People are figuring out what these projects actually mean. When they show up next to their homes, the industry just keeps hoping to get permits before the locals organize. The part that affects you, even if you live nowhere near Utah, is going to be explained here. In Northern Virginia, a region so packed with data centers it's literally called Data Center Alley, surging demand from these facilities is causing energy prices to spike by 800% during a capacity auction in 2024. 800%. And that spike is expected to translate into a 20% increase in residential electricity rates across 13 states just this summer. By 2030, those rates could go up by 30 to 60%. Your electricity bill is going to rise, so that a data center can run AI queries for a tech company whose shareholders aren't even you. Lawmakers in over 30 states have introduced more than 300 bills on data center regulation so far in 2026. However, it seems like people are starting to wake up. Whether they realize what's happening fast enough is another question. So, I'm going to step back from O'Leary specifically for a second, because I don't think he's actually the main player in all of this. Kevin O'Leary is doing exactly what Kevin O'Leary has always done. He finds where the money is moving and he's getting in front of it. That's his whole thing. He's good at it. I'm not surprised he's here. The thing that actually concerns me is the pattern of enormous infrastructure getting built at extraordinary speed in communities that don't have the resources or the information or the political power to meaningfully push back, with environmental costs that are externalized onto the surrounding ecosystem and the climate, and with benefits that flow almost entirely to people who are already doing pretty well. The national security argument is real. I'm not dismissing that. Computational infrastructure does matter. AI does have genuine transformative potential. It can be used in medicine, in climate mapping, in education, and in things we probably haven't thought of yet. But the way we're building right now, it makes you think, who's bearing the cost versus who's getting the benefit? O'Leary says we need to lead in AI perpetually. And by the way, he's basically said exactly that on Fox News at data center world conferences. But the county commissioners in rural Utah, who is the we? Because it's not the people standing outside in the fairground parking lot protesting, and it's not the family whose electricity bill is going to go up 30%, and it's not the town that might be breathing toxic dust from a shrinking lake. The we is investors and tech companies. Let's be honest about this instead of dressing it up as patriotism. He's not even from the US, by the way. Kevin O'Leary is a Canadian billionaire. So, should you actually be scared? Honestly, I don't think scared is the right word. Scared makes you feel like it's too big and too far away and someone else is going to deal with it. I think we need to be bothered. This news needs to gross you out, and it needs to kick you into action. Because here's the thing, none of this is actually as inevitable as they make it seem. This technology doesn't require fossil fuels. It doesn't require that communities have no say. And it doesn't require that your electricity bill subsidizes a billionaire's profit margin. Those are all choices, and they can all be made differently. The communities that organized pushed back had a real impact. $98 billion in projects blocked or delayed is not nothing. The Box Elder voters trying to put this on a ballot in November, that's not nothing. The 300 plus bills being written by state lawmakers right now, not nothing. Those are all steps forward. The question is whether enough people understand what's being built and fast enough to have a real voice in how it gets built. Which is why I made this video. AI is not going away. The demand for data centers is not going away. I'm not here to tell you to delete ChatGPT or whatever. I'm just saying the physical infrastructure of AI is being built right now in real places and by real people who are making choices that are going to lock in consequences for possibly decades. And most of those choices are being made with very little public scrutiny. Kevin O'Leary will be fine. He always is. The question is whether Box Elder County will be fine, or whether the Great Salt Lake will be, whether the environment will be okay, and whether your electricity bill won't raise. Those are questions I think are worth asking. If this got you thinking, please share it, especially with someone who thinks AI is just kind of a chatbot and has nothing to do with them. It absolutely does. And if you think I got something wrong, or if you've got constructive criticism to add, the comments are always open. I mean it. I'd honestly rather be corrected than just be wrong. Thank you all for watching.